You're lying in bed, the world quiet, except for a faint hum of your thoughts. Imagine this: a society where every step you take, every word you speak, is weighed against invisible rules. A world where a single misstep could ruin your life. Tonight, you're stepping into Victorian England, 1850, where social rules crushed dreams and bound hearts. Why was life so miserable for most? Let's find out. Close your eyes, let the modern world fade, and prepare to wake up in a time where appearances were everything and freedom was a whisper. If you love diving into history like this, please like and subscribe. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop your location and current time in the comments. Your support keeps these stories alive. Find a comfortable spot, maybe a soft blanket or a cozy chair. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders relax, and picture London, 1850. The Industrial Revolution roars, but for most life is a tightrope walk over a pit of judgment. Today we'd post our thoughts online. Back then, a wrong glance could spark scandal. The rich flaunted silk and status, while the poor, most of the population, scraped by in grime. Victorian social rules didn't just guide behavior. They choked individuality, especially for women workers and anyone daring to dream beyond their station. Congratulations, you just woke up in London, 1850. The first thing you notice isn't what you see, but the smell: a sharp mix of coal smoke and damp earth heavy in the air. You're in a narrow room barely 10 feet across with peeling wallpaper and a single window smudged with soot. The bed beneath you creaks, its thin mattress stuffed with straw that prickles through the sheet. Your body feels heavy, clothed in a coarse linen shift stiff against your skin. You sit up, and the floorboards groan under your bare feet, cold and splintered. Outside, the city hums with life. Carriage wheels clatter on cobblestones, distant vendors shout about fresh bread, and a church bell tolls deep and mournful. You take a deep breath, the air tasting faintly of ash, and notice a faint sweetness, perhaps a neighbor baking a rare treat in this working-class street. You stand, your muscles stiff, and peer through the window. Fog clings to the street, softening the outlines of cramped houses. Gas lamps flicker, casting weak pools of light. A woman in a faded shawl hurries past, her footsteps sharp against the stone. You're Eliza Carter, a 24-year-old seamstress, one of millions bound by Victorian rules. Your life is work, manners, and survival. A single slip, speaking too boldly, wearing the wrong dress, could brand you improper, costing you your job or reputation. You touch the rough wooden table beside you, its surface worn smooth by years of use, and feel a pang of hunger. Breakfast will be bread and weak tea if you're lucky. The weight of the day settles on you, hours of stitching eyes straining in dim light, all for pennies. The room is dim, lit only by the gray dawn seeping through the window. You light a tallow candle, its smoky scent curling upward, and the flame dances, casting shadows on the walls. Your hands, calloused from needlework, tremble slightly as you pull on a plain gray dress, its hem patched but clean. Cleanliness is next to godliness, they say, and you can't afford to look slovenly. You tie a bonnet, its brim stiff, and glance at a cracked mirror. Your face is pale, eyes tired but sharp. You're ready to face the world, or at least pretend to be. You step to the door, the air cooler here, and pause. The rules are clear. Be modest, be quiet, be obedient. For women like you, these aren't suggestions, they're chains. A man might climb through wit or work. You're expected to marry or toil in silence. You take another deep breath, your chest loosening, and feel the city's pulse beyond the door. Today you'll navigate this maze of etiquette and expectation. But a spark inside you wonders, is this all there is? The street awaits alive with sounds: children laughing, a horse snorting the distant whistle of a factory. You touch the door's iron handle cold and rough, and think of the day ahead. You'll walk to the dressmaker's shop, head down, avoiding the gaze of strangers. One wrong move could spark gossip, and gossip could end you. Yet as you stand here, the world feels vast even in its cruelty. You're Eliza, and today you'll live this life one careful step at a time. You push open the door, its hinges squeaking, and step into the fog-draped street of London, 1850. The air bites your cheeks damp and heavy with the scent of coal dust and horse manure. Your boots worn thin sink slightly into the uneven cobblestone slick from last night's rain. Around you, the city hums a vendor's shout, the creak of a cart, the soft clink of coins changing hands. You take a deep breath, your shoulders relaxing, and let the world unfold. This is your home, a working-class corner of Victorian England, where every glance and gesture is governed by rigid social rules. The street is narrow, flanked by cramped houses leaning like tired old men. Their brick faces are blackened by soot windows, small and grimy, letting in slivers of weak light. Laundry dangles from ropes strung between buildings, flapping in the breeze. Faded dresses and patched trousers, signs of lives stretched thin. You pass a bakery, its warm, yeasty aroma cutting through the smog, and your stomach twists with hunger. Bread is a luxury. Most days, it's porridge or nothing. You touch the rough canvas of your apron tied tight and keep walking head bowed as etiquette demands. Your neighborhood St. Giles is a warren of alleys and tenements home to seamstresses, laborers, and street sellers like you. The rules here are unspoken, but ironclad. Don't speak out of turn, don't draw attention, don't dream too big. You're Eliza Carter, a seamstress, and your world is stitched together by necessity. Your home is a single room shared with your younger brother Tom, who's 16, and works as a chimney sweep. The rent, 6 shillings a week, eats half your earnings. You taste the faint bitterness of tea on your tongue, this morning's only sustenance, and quicken your pace. You turn a corner and the street grows busier. A man in a tattered coat hawks newspapers, his voice hoarse. Read about the Queen's latest ball. You glance at him, then look away. Eye contact invites trouble. Women like you must be demure and visible. The rules choke you: no loud laughter, no bold opinions, no stepping above your station. You feel the weight of your bonnet, its strings tugging at your chin, a constant reminder to keep your head down. Yet the city's energy, its clatter, its smells, sparks something in you. A quiet defiance. You pause by a market stall, its wooden table laden with wilted cabbages and bruised apples. The vendor, Mrs. Harrow, nods at you. She's a stout woman in her 40s, her face lined from years of haggling and hardship. "Morning, Eliza," she says, her voice warm but tired. "Got a halfpenny for a turnip." You shake your head, smiling faintly, and feel the smooth coin in your pocket, your last saved for thread. Mrs. Harrow is kind, but kindness is rare. Most here judge swiftly, gossip faster. You take a deep breath, the air sharp, and move on. Next, you spot Tom, your brother emerging from an alley, his face smudged with soot. He's lanky with bright eyes that haven't yet dulled. "Eliza," he calls, then lowers his voice, mindful of propriety. You hug him briefly, his jacket rough against your hands, smelling of ash and sweat. Tom's your anchor, but his job is brutal, crawling up chimneys, lungs choking on dust. The rules bind him too. Boys must work, not question. You ruffle his hair and he grins, but you see the weariness beneath. "Stay safe," you whisper, your heart tight. Another figure approaches, Clara Wells, your closest friend, a laundress with a sharp tongue and a laugh that defies the rules. She's 25, her auburn hair tucked under a cap, her hands red from lye. "Eliza." You look half dead. She teases her voice low to avoid scandalized stares. You smile, feeling lighter. Clara's boldness is dangerous, but infectious. She dreams of a better life, maybe a shop of her own. But dreams are risky in a world that punishes ambition, especially in women. You walk together, her chatter a soft rebellion against the silence expected of you. The city shifts as you near the dressmaker's shop. Wealthier streets loom nearby where ladies in silk glide under parasols, their lives a world apart. You pass a gentleman in a top hat, his boots polished, his gaze sliding over you like you're invisible. Class rules are brutal. You're beneath notice unless you err. You touch the calluses on your fingers, earned from endless stitching, and feel a flicker of pride. You're surviving despite it all. The shop's sign creaks above you, its paint peeling, and you pause, the day's work looming. Take a moment. Let your body soften. Picture the street, the fog curling like a cat, the distant chime of a clock, the warmth of Clara's voice. You're in this world, alive, navigating its maze. The rules are heavy, but you're learning their cracks, moments of connection like Tom's grin or Clara's laugh that keep you going. You step toward the shop, the door's brass handle cold under your palm, and feel a quiet resolve. Today, you'll face the rules, the work, the judgment, and maybe find a way to carve out a piece of yourself. You twist the brass handle of the dressmaker's shop, the door creaking as it swings inward. A wave of musty air greets you, laced with the sharp scent of starch and the faint sweetness of lavender sachets used to mask the damp. The shop is dim, its walls lined with bolts of fabric, muslin, cotton, and rare silks for wealthier clients. Your boots scuff the worn wooden floor, and you feel the familiar ache in your shoulders, already bracing for hours of needlework. Take a deep breath. Let your eyes adjust to the low light and settle into this world where every stitch you sew is a thread in the tapestry of Victorian life. The shop is small, cluttered with tables piled high with patterns and spools of thread. A single gas lamp hisses softly, casting a warm glow over the chaos. You hear the faint clink of scissors and the rustle of fabric as your employer, Mrs. Langley, moves in the back. She's a stern woman in her 50s, her gray hair pulled tight under a cap, her eyes sharp as the pins tucked into her apron. "Eliza, you're late." She snaps, her voice cutting through the quiet. You murmur an apology, head bowed, knowing better than to argue. The rules here are clear. Obedience is your currency. You settle at your station, a narrow table by a window that offers a sliver of gray sky. Your hands, rough from years of work, reach for a half-finished dress, its fine cotton cool against your fingers. The needle gleams, and you begin stitching, the rhythm soothing despite the strain. Outside, the street hums, carriages rattle, a street singer's voice wavers, and the air carries the tang of coal smoke. You taste the dust on your lips, a constant in this city, and glance at the other seamstresses. There's Sarah, 19, quiet and pale, and Margaret, 30, whose cough worsens daily. Both are bound by the same rules: work hard, speak little, stay proper. Mrs. Langley hovers, inspecting your stitches. "Smaller, Eliza," she says, her tone clipped. You nod, feeling the weight of her gaze. She's not cruel, but survival demands perfection. Her shop depends on the whims of wealthy clients. You think of those ladies, their lives cushioned by privilege, yet even they're trapped by rules. Merrywell host perfect dinners. Never falter. You prick your finger, a tiny sting, and suck the bead of blood, its metallic taste sharp. The rules bind everyone, but for you, a working woman, they're a noose. You pause, letting your shoulders relax, and look around. The shop feels alive, it sounds and smells, weaving a story. You notice Clara's absence. She works across town, laundering linens, her hands raw from soap. You miss her wit, her way of making the rules feel smaller. Then, there's Tom, your brother. Likely halfway up a chimney by now, his lungs burning. You touch the dress's fabric, its softness a contrast to your rough life, and feel a flicker of connection to them both. They're your strength in this world of judgment. A new figure enters the shop, Mr. Grayson, a tailor who delivers supplies. He's in his 40s, broad-shouldered, with a kind face and a limp from an old injury. "Morning, ladies," he says, his voice gentle, setting a box of ribbons on the counter. You smile, careful not to seem forward. Mr. Grayson is a rarity, a man who speaks to you as a person, not a servant. But even he's bound by decorum. A longer glance could spark gossip. You thank him softly, your voice measured, and feel the room's eyes on you. Propriety is a constant shadow. The day stretches on your fingers, moving mechanically. You stitch a sleeve, then a hem, each motion precise. The rules of your trade mirror, society's every detail matters. A loose thread could cost a client just as a bold word could cost your reputation. You hear Margaret cough again, a wet, rattling sound, and worry creeps in. Disease is common here, cholera consumption, and the poor rarely survive it. You take a deep breath, the air heavy with wax and dust, and push the thought away. Focus on the needle, the thread, the now, the... You glance out the window where a fine lady passes in a velvet cloak, her maid trailing behind. The contrast stings. She'll never know your hunger, your fear of slipping into the workhouse. Yet her life isn't free. She's caged by expectations of marriage and manners. You feel the needle's weight in your hand, solid and real, and let your mind wander. What if you could break the rules just once? Speak your mind, wear bright colors, dream without fear. The thought is thrilling, dangerous, and you tuck it away like a forbidden letter. The shop's rhythm shifts as noon approaches. Mrs. Langley allows a brief break, and you sip weak tea, its bitterness softened by a pinch of sugar, a rare treat. You share a glance with Sarah, who offers a shy smile. She's new, still learning the unspoken codes: don't complain, don't stand out. You want to tell her it gets easier, but that's a lie. Instead, you touch her arm, a small gesture of warmth, and feel the room's closeness, its shared struggle. You're all surviving stitch by stitch in a world that demands perfection. As you return to work, the gas lamp flickers, casting long shadows. You stand to stretch your back, aching, and move to the window. The fog is thicker now, swallowing the street's edges. You hear a distant bell tolling the hour and feel the city's pulse relentless, alive. You're Eliza, a seamstress, a sister, a friend, navigating a maze of rules that shape every moment. Take a deep breath. Let your body soften and hold this truth: you're here in 1850. And though the rules are heavy, your spirit is finding its way. You push a needle through the cotton dress, its fabric taut under your fingers, as the afternoon light fades in the dressmaker's shop. The air is thick with the scent of wax and damp wool, and your eyes strain in the dim glow of the gas lamp. Each stitch is a small act of survival, earning you pennies in London, 1850. Your back aches, but you keep moving. Stopping invites Mrs. Langley's sharp tongue. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders relax, and sink into the rhythm of your day, where every moment is shaped by the iron rules of Victorian society. The shop hums with quiet industry. Sarah's scissors snip softly. Margaret's cough punctuates the silence, and Mrs. Langley mutters about a late order. You glance at the clock, 3 o'clock hours yet to go. Your stomach rumbles, the morning's tea long gone. Lunch is a luxury. Most days you wait for supper, maybe bread and dripping if Tom's wages come through. You taste the faint dust on your lips, a constant in this soot-choked city, and focus on the needle, its rhythm a lifeline. You pause to thread a new needle, the motion automatic, and overhear Sarah whispering to Margaret. "Saw a lady in silk yesterday," she says, voice low. "Bet she never sews her own seams." Margaret snorts softly, then coughs, covering her mouth. You smile, but keep silent. Talking risks Mrs. Langley's wrath. The rules here mirror the world outside. Speak only when spoken to keep your thoughts small. You feel the dress's smooth fabric, a contrast to your patched apron, and wonder about that lady in silk, her life both distant and caged. Mrs. Langley approaches, her boots clicking. "Eliza, this hem's uneven," she says, holding up your morning's work. Her tone is cold, but her eyes betray worry. Her shop's reputation hangs on your precision. "Fix it by supper." You nod, heart sinking. Extra work means no break, but arguing isn't an option. Women like you don't question. You obey. You take the dress, its weight heavy in your hands, and start unpicking stitches. The air feels tighter, but you breathe slowly, letting the tension ease. The shop door jingles, and Clara bursts in, her cheeks flushed from the cold. She's on her way to deliver linens, but stopped to see you. "Eliza, you're pale as a ghost," she says loud enough to draw Mrs. Langley's frown. You shush her, but her grin is infectious. "Met a cabbie who says the Queen's planning a new ball," she whispers, leaning close. Her hands red from lye brush yours, warm and rough. Clara's boldness lifts you, but it's risky. Gossiping women or scandals kindling. You glance at Mrs. Langley, who's watching, and lower your eyes. "Clara." "I've work," you say softly, threading your needle. She rolls her eyes but nods, promising to meet you later. As she leaves, her laughter lingers, a spark in the shop's gloom. You feel the needles prick, a tiny pain, and think of Clara's dreams, a shop, a life unbound. Dreams are dangerous, but they keep you going. You stitch faster, the dress taking shape, and let your mind wander to supper, to Tom's soot-streaked smile, to a moment of rest. The day drags on, each hour marked by the toll of a distant church bell. You finish the hem, your fingers cramped, and Mrs. Langley nods a rare approval. "Good enough," she says, moving on. You stretch your spine, popping, and sip cold tea, its bitterness sharp. Outside, the fog thickens, muffling the street's clatter. Hooves, shouts, the creak of carts. You smell the coal smoke seeping through the window, a reminder of the city's relentless pulse, and feel the weight of your role, a seamstress, invisible but essential. You overhear Margaret talking to Sarah about her brother, a factory worker injured last week. "No wages, no food," she says, voice tight. You want to offer comfort, but words feel hollow. Poverty is a shared language here, and the rules offer no mercy. Work or starve. You touch the dress's soft folds, its beauty destined for a stranger, and feel a pang of envy quickly buried. Envy is unladylike, another rule etched into you. Instead, you focus on the next task, a sleeve needing darts, and let the work anchor you. As evening nears, the shop grows colder, the lamps glow weaker. You wrap your shawl tighter, its wool scratchy but warm, and think of home, your cramped room. Tom waiting with a story of his day. The rules follow you. They're keep the house tidy, be a good sister. Don't complain. You stand to light another candle, its tallow scent curling upward, and catch Sarah's eye. She looks tired, her hands trembling. "You all right?" You whisper, risking a moment of connection. She nods, but her eyes say otherwise. You're all bound by the same struggle. The final hour crawls by. Your fingers numb, your eyes burning. Mrs. Langley dismisses you at 7, her voice gruff, but not unkind. "Be early tomorrow," she says. You nod, gathering your things, a shawl, a basket with a spare needle. You step outside, the air sharp with frost, and hear the city winding down, fewer carriages, softer voices. The cobblestones are slick under your boots, and you walk carefully, head down, a proper woman in a world that watches. Take a deep breath. Feel the cold fill your lungs and know you've survived another day. Stitch by careful stitch. You step onto the slick cobblestones, the evening chill wrapping around you like a damp shawl. The scent of coal smoke and wet earth fills your lungs, and the distant clatter of a cart echoes through the fog. Your boots, thin and patched, slip slightly, but you steady yourself, pulling your bonnet tighter. London 1850 is winding down, but your day isn't over. As Eliza Carter seamstress, you're bound by Victorian rules that dictate every move, head down steps, modest thoughts guarded. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders soften, and walk into the rhythm of your evening, where survival and decorum dance a delicate waltz. The street is quieter now, gas lamps casting hazy pools of light. You pass a tavern, its warm glow spilling out along with the rumble of men's laughter and the sharp tang of ale. You quicken your pace, lingering near such places, invites gossip, and a woman's reputation is fragile. Your stomach twists, hunger gnawing after a day of tea and willpower. Supper awaits at home, likely bread, and a scrape of dripping shared with Tom. You feel the weight of your basket, its lone needle rattling, and keep moving, the cold biting your fingertips. You turn into a narrower alley, the houses closer, their brick faces streaked with soot. A child darts past barefoot, shouting to a friend, and you smile faintly, then catch yourself. Smiling too freely could seem improper, especially alone. The rules are relentless. Be reserved, be invisible. You hear a woman's voice, Mrs. Harrow, the market vendor, scolding her son from an open window. "Mind your manners, Johnny," she snaps. Even here in St. Giles's cramped streets, etiquette is a whip shaping young and old. You touch your shawl, its wool fraying, and keep walking. At home, you climb the creaking stairs to your room, the air musty and cold. Tom's already there, sprawled on a stool, his face smudged with soot from chimneys. "Eliza," he grins, voice hoarse. You hug him, his jacket rough and smoky, and feel a rush of warmth. He's your anchor, but his thin frame worries you. Work is stealing his strength. "Got a halfpenny," he says, holding up a coin. "Bought bread." You taste the faint hope on your tongue like the memory of sugar, and set to work slicing the loaf with a blunt knife. You sit together on the floor, the straw mattress creaking nearby. The bread is stale, but filling its crust rough against your teeth. You share a tin mug of weak tea, its bitterness softened by Tom's chatter. "Saw a steam engine today," he says, eyes bright, huge like a dragon. You laugh softly, mindful of thin walls, neighbors eavesdrop, and laughter can seem unladylike. The rules follow you home. Be quiet, be proper, be content. But Tom's stories, wild and free, are a rebellion you cherish. You sip the tea, its warmth spreading, and listen. "Eliza, you ever think of leaving?" Tom asks, voice low. You pause, the question dangerous. Leaving St. Giles, this life means defying class money rules. Women don't just leave, they marry or toil. You feel the room's closeness, its peeling walls pressing in and meet his gaze. Sometimes you admit your voice a whisper. The words feel bold, almost sinful, but they spark something, a dream of open fields, a life less choked. You take a deep breath, the air heavy with tallow and dust, and push the thought down. Dreams are for later. You stand to clear the crumbs, your movements slow, deliberate. The rules extend to housework. A tidy home proves your virtue. You sweep the floor, its boards splintered, and feel the broom's worn handle smooth from use. Tom watches, then helps, his hands clumsy, but willing. "You're too good for this," he mutters, and your heart aches. He's young, still hopeful. but the rules will grind him down too. Boys must work, not dream. You touch his shoulder, a silent promise to keep fighting and keep sweeping the rhythm grounding you. Outside, the city settles fewer shouts, softer footsteps. You light a candle, its flame dancing, and the room glows faintly, shadows flickering on the walls. You mend a tear in Tom's jacket, your needle flashing the task familiar. Clara stopped by today, you say, keeping your voice casual. Tom grins. She's trouble. You nod, smiling. Clara's defiance. Her jokes, her plans, challenges the rules, but it's a flame that could burn her. You feel the thread's tension, like the rules binding you, and stitch carefully, each loop a small defiance. The night deepens, the air colder. You wrap a blanket around Tom, its wool, scratchy but warm, and urge him to sleep. He curls up on the mattress, his breathing soon steady. You sit by the window, the glass cool against your cheek, and look out. The fog is thick, swallowing the stars, but a distant lamp glows steady. You taste the day's exhaustion, feel the ache in your hands, and let your mind wander. The rules shape you, but moments, Tom's grin. Clara's laugh remind you who you are. You blow out the candle, the smoky scent lingering, and lie down beside Tom. The mattress rustles its straw, poking through, but you're too tired to care. Take a deep breath, let your body sink, and feel the weight of the day lift. You're Eliza, surviving in a world of rules that demand perfection, yet offer little mercy. Tomorrow you'll rise, stitch walk the same streets, but tonight you rest, holding tight to the small joys that keep you whole. You wake to the faint toll of a church bell, its sound muffled by the fog outside your window. The room is cold, the air heavy with the musty scent of straw and damp plaster. Your body aches from the thin mattress, but you rise, the floorboards creaking under your bare feet. It's another day in London, 1850, and as Eliza Carter seamstress, you're already threading the needle of Victorian life, each step governed by rules that demand modesty, silence, and obedience. Take a deep breath. Let the chill wake you, and step into the rhythm of your morning, where survival is a quiet art. You splash icy water from a cracked basin onto your face, the shock sharpening your senses. The water tastes faintly of rust as a drop touches your lips, and you shiver, pulling on your gray dress, its hem carefully mended. Cleanliness is godliness. The rules insist, so you smooth your hair and tie your bonnet, its strings stiff. You glance at Tom, still asleep, his face smudged with yesterday's soot. You touch his shoulder gently, leaving him to rest a moment longer, and light a candle. Its tallow scent curls upward, warming the dim room. Downstairs you step into the street, the cobblestones slick with dew. The air carries coal smoke and the faint sweetness of a baker's oven teasing your empty stomach. You clutch a shawl, its wool thin but vital, and walk toward the dressmaker's shop. The city stirs, vendors shout, hooves clatter, a child's laugh pierces the haze. You keep your head down, avoiding men's gazes. A bold look could spark whispers, and whispers ruin women like you. You feel the street's rhythm, relentless yet alive, and let your shoulders relax. At the shop, Mrs. Langley is already barking orders. Eliza, start on the velvet gown, she says, her voice sharp as the pins in her apron. You nod, settling at your table where the rich fabric waits, its deep green heavy in your hands. The needle glides smoothly, but your eyes burn from the dim light. You hear Sarah's soft humming, a rare defiance, and Margaret's cough, weaker today. The rules bind you, all work, without complaint. Keep your place. You taste the dust in the air, a constant companion, and focus on each stitch. A customer enters, a merchant's wife in a fur-trimmed cloak, her perfume sharp and floral. Mrs. Langley, is my dress ready? she asks, voice lofty. You keep stitching invisible to her. She's bound by rules too perfect. Manners a spotless reputation, but her wealth cushions the weight. You feel a prick of envy quickly buried. Such thoughts are improper. Nearly done, ma'am, Mrs. Langley replies, all deference. You glance at the woman's gloves, pristine, and think of your calloused hands. The gap between you stings, but you breathe slowly, letting the needle's rhythm soothe you. Mid-morning, Clara slips in her laundress's apron, damp. Eliza, you're wasting away, she teases, tossing you a bruised apple from her pocket. Its tart scent cuts through the shop's mustiness, and you hide a smile, tucking the fruit away for later. Heard about a strike at the docks, she whispers, eyes gleaming. Men demanding more pay. You tense, talk of rebellion is dangerous, especially for women. Mrs. Langley's glare silences Clara, but her words linger a spark in the shop's monotony. You feel the apple's weight in your pocket, a small gift, and stitch faster. The day grinds on hours marked by the church bell's toll. You pause to sip tea, its bitterness sharp, and share a glance with Sarah. She's struggling with a seam, her fingers trembling. Let me, you whisper, adjusting her stitches. She murmurs, thanks, her voice shy. The rules frown on such help, each worker for herself, but you can't watch her fail. You feel the velvet's softness, a luxury you'll never wear, and think of Clara's strike talk. Change feels impossible, yet her courage stirs something in you. Mrs. Langley announces a rush order, a ball gown for a lord's daughter. Eliza, you'll stay late, she says, not asking. You nod, though exhaustion weighs your bones. Refusal isn't an option. The poor don't say no. You hear Margaret's cough worsen, and worry creeps in. Her health is failing, and medicine costs more than you earn. The rules offer no mercy, work, or perish. You take a deep breath, the air thick with wax and dust, and focus on the gown, its silk shimmering like a distant dream. Evening falls, the shop colder, the lamp's glow fading. You're alone now, the others gone stitching by candlelight. The silk is smooth, almost liquid, and you imagine the Lord's daughter dancing free in ways you'll never be. Your fingers cramp, but you keep going, each stitch a step toward survival. Outside, the city quiets, fewer shouts, softer steps. You taste the apple's tartness as you finally eat it, its juice a small joy. The rules shape your days, but these moments, Clara's gift, Sarah's gratitude, remind you of your strength. You finish the gown, your eyes burning, and stand to stretch your back, protesting. The shop is silent, save for the candle's faint hiss. You wrap your shawl tighter, its familiar scratch grounding you, and step outside. The fog is thick, the air sharp with frost. You walk home, head down, a proper woman in a world that watches. Take a deep breath, feel the cold fill your lungs, and know you've carried another day, weaving through rules that bind but cannot break you. You wake to a sharp knock at the door, the sound jarring in the pre-dawn stillness. Your room is frigid, the air thick with the stale scent of straw and soot. You sit up, heart pounding, the thin blanket slipping from your shoulders. Outside, London 1850 is barely stirring, but trouble doesn't wait for daylight. As Eliza Carter, seamstress, you're used to the weight of Victorian rules, but this moment feels heavier, like a storm brewing. Take a deep breath, let your body settle, and step into the day where a single event could unravel the careful threads of your life. You stumble to the door, the floorboards icy under your bare feet, and open it to find Clara, her face pale, her auburn hair loose under her cap. Eliza, it's Margaret, she whispers, voice tight. She's bad, real bad. Won't last the night without a doctor. The words hit like a blow. Margaret, the seamstress with the worsening cough, is more than a co-worker. She's a quiet ally in the shop's grind, You taste the fear on your tongue, sharp as the coal smoke outside, and grab your shawl. It's wool rough, but warm. You follow Clara through the fog-choked streets, the cobblestones slick under your boots. The city is waking vendors, shouts, the creak of carts, but it feels distant, muffled by dread. Clara's breath comes in quick puffs, her hands red from lie trembling. Her brother can't pay for medicine, she says low, and Mrs. Langley won't help, says it's not her burden. You feel a spark of anger quickly smothered. The rules forbid questioning employers. But Margaret's life hangs on this, and the injustice stings like a needle's prick. At Margaret's tenement, the air is sour with sickness and damp. She lies on a pallet, her face gray, her coughs weak and wet. Her brother James, a lanky factory worker, kneels beside her helpless. "I've got nothing left," he mutters, eyes red. You touch Margaret's hand, clammy and thin, and feel a surge of resolve. The rules say mind your place, but you can't watch her die. We'll find a way, you say, voice steadier than you feel. Clara nods, her jaw set, but the weight of the task presses down. You and Clara pool your coins, your last halfpenny, her meager savings. It's not enough for a doctor, not even close. You think of Mrs. Langley's shop, its bolts of silk for rich ladies, and the contrast burns. The rules protect wealth, not lives like Margaret's. There's a charity hospital, Clara suggests, but it's miles away, and Margaret's too weak to move. You hear a distant church bell tolling the hour and feel time slipping. Take a deep breath, the air heavy with despair, and search for a plan. You decide to confront Mrs. Langley. Its risky defiance could cost your job, your reputation, but Margaret's life matters more. You walk to the shop, Clara at your side, the fog curling like a warning. The streets are busier now, men in top hats brushing past their world, untouched by your struggle. You feel your bonnet strings tight against your chin, a reminder of propriety, and push the thought aside. You're breaking rules for a reason, and the thought steadies you like a needle finding its mark. At the shop, Mrs. Langley is sorting ribbons, her face stern. "What's this?" she snaps as you enter Clara behind you. You take a breath, the air thick with wax and dust, and speak. "Margaret's dying, ma'am. She needs a doctor. We're asking for help, anything." Your voice trembles, but you hold her gaze, a bold act that makes your heart race. Clara adds, "She's one of us. You can't just let her go." The silence is heavy, Mrs. Langley's eyes narrowing. You feel the room's closeness, the weight of every stitch you've sewn for her, and wait. "You forget your place," Mrs. Langley says, voice cold. "I don't owe her or you anything." She turns away, dismissing you. The rejection cuts, but Clara grabs your arm, her grip fierce. "We're not done," she whispers, pulling you outside. The fog is thicker, the air sharp with frost, and your anger flares anger at Mrs. Langley, at the rules that let people like Margaret fade. You taste the bitterness of it, like oversteeped tea, and feel a shift inside. You're not just Eliza, the obedient seamstress, anymore. Clara suggests Mr. Grayson, the tailor who delivers supplies. "He's kind," she says. "Might know someone." You nod, clinging to hope, and head to his workshop, a small room near the market. The scent of leather and thread greets you, and Mr. Grayson looks up, his kind eyes crinkling. "Eliza, Clara, what's wrong?" You explain, words tumbling out, and he listens, his face grave. "I know a doctor who helps the poor," he says. "I'll send for him." Go back to Margaret. Relief floods you warm as a candle's glow. But the rules loom. Will this work, or will it cost you all? You return to Margaret's side, the tenement's gloom unchanged. She's weaker, her breathing shallow, but you hold her hand, whispering, "Hold on." Clara paces her energy, a contrast to the stillness. You hear the city outside, hooves, shouts, life moving on, and feel the fragility of your world. The rules say you're powerless, but today you're fighting. Take a deep breath. Let the tension ease and feel the spark of defiance growing. You're Eliza, and this moment saving a friend could change everything or break you. You sit by Margaret's side, her hand frail in yours, the tenement's dank air pressing against your chest. The faint wheeze of her breathing mixes with the distant clatter of London streets where 1850 hums with life unbothered by her struggle. The candle beside you flickers its tallow scent, sharp casting shadows on the peeling walls. As Eliza Carter seamstress, you're defying Victorian rules, seeking help for Margaret, challenging the silence they demand. Your heart races, but you take a deep breath, letting your shoulders relax and hold steady in this moment, where hope and fear collide. Clara paces her boots, scuffing the floor, her face tight with worry. "Grayson, better hurry," she mutters, glancing at the door. You nod, feeling the weight of your choice to ask for help. The rules are clear. Don't meddle, don't demand. Women like you are meant to endure, not act. Yet here you are, risking gossip, maybe your job for Margaret. You taste the sour edge of fear like stale tea, but her shallow breaths keep you anchored. You squeeze her hand, its coldness a quiet plea to keep fighting. Footsteps echo outside, heavy and quick. The door creaks open, and Mr. Grayson enters, followed by a wiry man in a worn coat, Dr. Ellis, his face lined but kind. "Heard you've got a sick friend," he says, voice low, setting a leather bag on the floor. You stand relief, mingling with dread, and explain Margaret's condition. He kneels beside her, his hands gentle, checking her pulse. "Consumption," he says softly. "She's far gone, but I'll do what I can." You feel the word like a stone. Consumption kills, especially the poor. Dr. Ellis pulls out a vial of medicine, its sharp herbal scent cutting through the room's staleness. "This might ease her breathing," he says, administering a dose. Clara watches her hands twisting her apron, and you touch her arm, a silent tether. The rules loom. Charity like this is rare, and you're in debt to Mr. Grayson now, a debt that could bind you in ways you can't predict. You hear a cart rumble past outside the world, moving on, and feel the fragility of this moment balanced on a knife's edge. Margaret stirs her cough softer, and Dr. Ellis nods. She needs rest, warmth, food, things you can't afford. His words are blunt, not unkind, but they sting. You think of Mrs. Langley's refusal. Her cold dismissal, and anger flares again. The rules protect her wealth, not Margaret's life. "Thank you," you say, voice steady, though your hands tremble. Mr. Grayson offers a small smile. "I'll check tomorrow," he says, and they leave, their footsteps fading into the fog. You take a deep breath, the air heavy with damp, and feel the weight of what's next. Clara slumps against the wall, her energy spent. "What now, Eliza?" "We can't pay for more medicine." Her voice cracks, and you see the fear she hides with bravado. You look at Margaret, her face less gray, and feel a spark of resolve. "We'll find a way," you say, echoing your earlier promise. But the rules choke your options. Women don't earn enough, don't have power. You think of the shop, its endless work, and Clara's talk of dock strikes. Could you demand more like those men? The thought is thrilling, terrifying. You step outside for air. The fog thick, the street quiet, save for a distant dog's bark. The cold bites your cheeks, and you wrap your shawl tighter. Its wool, a familiar shield. You taste the coal smoke, ever present, and think of Tom, your brother, likely asleep after another brutal day. He'd want you to fight for Margaret, but the rules bind him too. Boys work, don't question. You feel the cobblestones under your boots solid and unyielding, and let your mind race. A plan forms risky but possible appeal to the church for aid. Back inside, you tell Clara your idea. The vicar at St. Giles sometimes helps you say remembering a sermon about charity. Clara's eyes light up, but she hesitates. They'll want us to grovel, prove we're deserving. She's right. The rules of charity demand humility, proof of virtue. You think of Margaret's quiet kindness, her years of stitching beside you, and nod. She's worth it. You sit by Margaret again, her breathing steadier, and feel a shift inside, a refusal to let the rules win. You're not just obeying anymore. The night deepens the tenement colder. You and Clara take turns watching Margaret, the candle burning low. You hear her brother James snoring in the corner, exhausted from worry. You think of Mrs. Langley's shop, where you're expected at dawn, and dread her reaction if she learns of your actions. Gossip spreads fast, and a troublesome woman loses work. Yet as you touch Margaret's hand, warmer now, you feel a quiet strength. The rules may bind you, but they can't erase your will to act. You stand stretching your aching back and look out the grimy window. The fog hides the stars, but a gas lamp glows steady. Take a deep breath. Let the tension in your chest ease and hold this truth. You're Eliza fighting for a friend in a world that demands silence. The rules are heavy, but today you've bent them, and Margaret's faint pulse is proof. Tomorrow you'll face the church, the shop, the consequences. But for now, you rest ready for the next step in this fragile rebellion. You rise from Margaret's side, the tenement's chill seeping into your bones as the first light of dawn creeps through the grimy window. The air smells of damp straw and the faint herbal trace of Dr. Ellis's medicine. Margaret's breathing is steadier, but her face remains pale, a fragile thread holding her to life. As Eliza Carter, seamstress in London 1850, you're defying Victorian rules by fighting for her. But the cost looms. Your eyes burn with fatigue, yet you take a deep breath, letting your shoulders relax and step into the morning where every choice tightens the knot of your rebellion. Clara dozes in a corner, her cap askew, her hands still red from lye. You touch her shoulder and she stirs, blinking. We need to see the vicar. You whisper your voice low to avoid waking Margaret's brother James. Clara nods, rubbing her eyes. He'll make us beg, she mutters, but follows you. The rules of charity are as rigid as those of work. Prove your worth. Bow low, accept judgment. You feel the weight of your shawl, its wool fraying, and step outside the fog, damp against your face. The streets of St. Giles are waking, the cobblestones slick under your boots. A vendor's shout pierces the haze, and the sharp scent of coal smoke mixes with the faint sweetness of baking bread. You keep your head down, avoiding the gaze of a passing laborer. Propriety demands it, especially now, when gossip could ruin you. You taste the morning's chill like cold tea, and feel the city's pulse relentless despite your fear. The church looms ahead, its spire cutting through the fog, a beacon of hope and judgment. Inside, the air is cool, smelling of wax and old hymnals. The vicar, Mr. Thorne, a gaunt man with sharp eyes, stands near the altar sorting papers. You approach, heart-pounding, and curtsy, the gesture automatic. Sir, we need help, you say, voice steady, despite the rules screaming for silence. You explain Margaret's illness, her years of quiet work, her need for medicine. Clara adds, she's good, sir, deserving. Mr. Thorne's gaze is cold, assessing. Charity is for the virtuous, he says. Is she free of sin? The question stings, a reminder of the rule's cruelty. You swallow anger, feeling the smooth wood of a pew under your hand. She's honest, hard-working, you say, holding his stare a bold act that makes your pulse race. Clara shifts beside you, her defiance barely leashed. Mr. Thorne sighs, relenting. I'll send a nurse with medicine, but you'll owe the parish work or coin. Relief floods you warm as a candle's glow, but the debt is another chain. You thank him voice soft and leave the church's heavy door thudding shut. Outside, the fog feels lighter, but the rules tighten their grip. Back at the tenement, the nurse arrives, a stern woman with a basket of vials and bandages. She tends to Margaret, her movements brisk, and confirms Dr. Ellis's diagnosis: consumption, but treatable with care. Keep her warm fed, she says, leaving you with a bottle of syrup that smells of licorice and tar. You sit by Margaret, her hand warmer now, and feel a fragile hope. But the cost, your job, your reputation looms. Mrs. Langley's shop awaits, and news of your actions will spread. You taste the syrup's faint sweetness on the air, a bitter reminder of the price. Clara pulls you aside, her eyes fierce. We did right, Eliza, but Langley'll hear of this. She'll call you trouble. You nod, dread coiling in your chest. The rules punish boldness, especially in women. Losing your job means starvation, the workhouse no future for Tom. Yet as you look at Margaret, her chest rising steadily, you feel a fire kindling. Let her try, you say, voice, low but firm. Clara grins, a spark of rebellion, and you feel the tenement's walls rough under your fingers, grounding you in this fight. The day presses on, and you head to the shop, leaving Clara with Margaret. The streets are busier carriages, rattling, vendors haggling. You pass Mr. Grayson, who nods his kind eyes, knowing. You're brave, Eliza, he says softly, and you blush, mindful of passers-by. His support is a lifeline, but even he can't shield you from the rule's wrath. You feel your bonnet's strings tight as ever, and enter the shop, the familiar scent of wax and fabric enveloping you. Mrs. Langley's gaze is ice, her lips a thin line. Eliza. A word? She says, voice sharp. The other seamstresses, Sarah, a new girl, look away, sensing trouble. You follow her to the back heart, hammering the air thick with tension. You've been meddling, she says, begging for that sick woman. It's improper, distracting. You stand tall, though fear claws you. Margaret's dying, ma'am. I had to try. Your words break every rule, defiance speaking out, but they feel true. Mrs. Langley's eyes narrow, and you brace for the axe to fall, your hands trembling but resolute. Take a deep breath. Let the shop's dim light ground you, and feel the crescendo of this moment. You're Eliza, no longer just a seamstress bowing to rules. Margaret's life, Clara's fire. Tom's hope, they fuel you. The rules demand your silence, but today you've spoken, and the consequences are coming. You touch the table's worn edge, its solidity a reminder of your strength and face. Mrs. Langley, ready for what's next in this world that binds but cannot break you. You stand in the back of the dressmaker's shop, the air thick with the scent of starch and tension. Mrs. Langley's eyes bore into you, her voice a blade. You've overstepped, Eliza. I can't have troublemakers. Your heart pounds the weight of her words, threatening to crush you. London, 1850 is unforgiving, and as Eliza Carter, seamstress, you've broken Victorian rules by fighting for Margaret's life. The shop's dim light flickers, but you take a deep breath, letting your resolve steady you, and face the peak of this storm where your choices will define your path. You clench your hands, the calluses rough against your palms, and speak, voice low, but firm. I helped a friend, ma'am. I'd do it again. The words are a rebellion defying the rules that demand silence and obedience. Mrs. Langley's face hardens and she points to the door. You're done here. Leave. The dismissal hits like a blow, stealing your breath. Losing this job means hunger, no rent, no future for Tom. You taste the fear sharp as coal dust, but hold her gaze refusing to bow. Sarah gasps softly from her table, her scissors still, and the other seamstresses avert their eyes. You feel the shop's walls closing in the bolts of silk, mocking your poverty. The rules have won, or so it seems. You gather your basket, the needle inside rattling, and step toward the door, your boots heavy on the worn floor. Outside, the fog swirls the city's hum, indifferent to your ruin. You pause, the cold air biting your cheeks, and feel a surge of defiance. You're not broken yet. Clara finds you outside, her face flushed from running. Eliza, what happened? She demands, her voice cutting through the haze. You tell her the words, spilling out Mrs. Langley's anger, your dismissal. Clara's eyes flash. She's a coward hiding behind rules while Margaret fights to breathe. She grabs your arm, her grip fierce. You did right. We'll figure this out. Her fire rekindles yours, and you nod, feeling the cobblestones solid beneath you. The rules may strip your job, but not your will. You head to Margaret's tenement, needing to see her. The streets are alive, vendors shouting, carriages rattling, but you feel apart, a woman unmoored by defiance. At the tenement, Margaret is awake, propped up, her face less gray. The nurse's medicine has helped, and she manages a weak smile. Eliza, you saved me, she whispers, her voice thin. You touch her hand, warm now, and feel a rush of purpose. This life, this fight is why you risked everything. The rules can't take that from you. Margaret's brother James offers you a cup of weak tea, its bitterness grounding. I'll work extra shifts, he says, voice rough, to pay you back. You shake your head, but his gratitude strengthens you. Clara, sitting nearby, suggests a plan. There's a new dressmaker opening in Holborn. They're hiring. You're better than Langley's lot, show them. The idea sparks hope, but fear lingers. A new job means starting over, proving yourself under the same suffocating rules. You taste the tea's faint warmth and decide you'll try. That evening, you return home, the familiar creak of the stairs, a small comfort. Tom is there, his face smudged with soot, eyes wide as you tell him everything. You're brave, Eliza, he says, hugging you, his jacket smoky and rough. His faith in you burns brighter than any rule. You light a candle, its tallow scent curling upward, and sit together sharing a crust of bread. The room feels smaller, the future uncertain, but you feel a change within, a hardening, a clarity. You're not just surviving anymore. You're choosing. You lie down, the mattress rustling, and stare at the cracked ceiling. The rules of Victorian society. Modesty-obedient silence tried to cage you, but today you broke free, even if it cost you. You think of Margaret's smile, Clara's fire, Tom's trust, and realize this era with its crushing expectations has taught you strength. The poor, the overlooked, endure not because they're meek, but because they fight in quiet ways. You take a deep breath, the air cold, but steadying, and close your eyes, ready for tomorrow's battle. The city hums beyond your window, its fog hiding the stars, but not your resolve. You've lost your job, but gained something deeper, a sense of who you are. The rules may dictate your place, but they can't define your heart. You feel the blanket's scratchy warmth grounding you, and let exhaustion pull you toward sleep. Take a deep breath. Let your body soften, and know you're Eliza, a woman who faced the rules and chose to stand tall no matter the cost. You wake to the soft patter of rain against the window, the sound blending with the distant clatter of London's morning. The room is dim, the air heavy with the scent of damp straw and yesterday's candle. Your body aches from the thin mattress, but your mind is sharp alive with the weight of your choices. As Eliza Carter, no longer a seamstress for Mrs. Langley, you've defied the rigid rules of Victorian England, 1850, and paid the price. Yet a new path glimmers. Take a deep breath. Let the cool air fill you and step into this day where your transformation deepens. You rise, splashing cold water from the basin onto your face, its icy sting waking you fully. The water tastes faintly of rust, a reminder of your cramped St. Giles home. You dress in your gray gown, its patches neatly sewn, and tie your bonnet, the strings a familiar tether. Tom stirs, rubbing sleep from his eyes, his soot-streaked face worried. "You'll find work, Eliza," he says, voice firm despite his youth. You hug him, his jacket rough and smoky, and feel his belief anchor you. The rules may have taken your job, but not your purpose. You step into the street, the rain misting your shawl, its wool damp but warm. The cobblestones glisten, and the air carries the sharp tang of coal smoke and wet earth. You're heading to Holborn to the new dressmaker. Clara mentioned a chance to start over. The city hums, vendors hawk pies, hooves splash through puddles. But you keep your head down, mindful of propriety. A woman alone draws eyes, and gossip could doom your hopes. You feel the rhythm of your steps steady despite the uncertainty, and let your shoulders relax. At the Holborn shop, the air is warmer, scented with fresh linen and beeswax. The owner, Mrs. Reed, is younger than Mrs. Langley, her face kind but shrewd. You curtsy, heart racing, and present your skills, showing a sample of your stitching a handkerchief, its edges precise. "You're skilled," she says, inspecting it. "But I hear you caused trouble at Langley's." The words sting, the rule's shadow following you. You take a breath, the air soft with fabric dust, and speak. "I helped a dying friend, ma'am. My work never faltered." Mrs. Reed studies you, her eyes weighing your truth. "I value loyalty," she says finally. "Start tomorrow. Small wages, but fair." Relief floods you warm as a candle's glow, and you thank her voice steady. It's not salvation. Wages are still meager. The rules still bind, but it's a chance. You feel the handkerchief in your pocket, its stitches a testament to your skill, and step outside the rain lighter now. The city feels less hostile, its gray streets holding possibility. You visit Margaret, needing to share the news. At her tenement, the air is less sour, the nurse's care working. Margaret sits up, sipping broth, her smile weak but real. "Eliza, you're a miracle," she says, her voice stronger. You sit beside her, the straw pallet rustling, and tell her about the new job. Her gratitude, Clara's plan. Tom's faith, they weave a net that holds you. The rules tried to break you, but these bonds forged in defiance are stronger. You taste the broth's faint saltiness shared from her bowl and feel whole. Clara joins you, her laugh bright, despite the gloom. "Told you, Eliza, you're tougher than Langley's rules," she says, nudging you. You smile, feeling the tenement's rough walls under your hand, grounding you. Clara talks of the dock strikes, whispers of change, and you listen, a spark kindling. The rules keep women silent, but your actions, saving Margaret, facing Mrs. Langley, prove you can act. You're not just a seamstress. You're a woman carving her place stitch by stitch. Back home, you and Tom share a supper of bread, and dripping the fat's richness a rare treat. The candle flickers, its tallow scent curling upward, and you talk of the future. "Maybe I'll learn a trade." Tom says, eyes bright. "Not chimneys forever." His hope mirrors yours, a rebellion against the rules that bind you both. You touch his hand, warm and calloused, and feel a deep realization. This era, with its cruel expectations, has taught you resilience. The poor endure because they choose to fight quietly, fiercely. You lie down, the mattress creaking the rain, a soft lullaby outside. The rules of Victorian society, obedience, modesty, acceptance tried to define you, but you've redefined yourself. You've lost a job, gained a new one, saved a friend, and found your strength. You feel the blanket's scratchy warmth, the room's closeness a comfort now, and let your body soften. Take a deep breath. Let the day's weight lift and know you're Eliza transformed by a world that binds but cannot hold your spirit. You wake to the soft creak of floorboards as Tom stirs the morning light filtering through the grimy window of your St. Giles room. The air is damp, scented with straw and the faint smoke of last night's candle. Your body feels lighter, though the weight of yesterday's victories and losses lingers. As Eliza Carter, you've defied the suffocating rules of Victorian London 1850, securing a new job and saving Margaret. Today, you step into this hard-won future. Take a deep breath, let the cool air ground you, and embrace the transformation that defines you now. You rise, splashing icy water from the basin onto your face, its sharp bite waking you fully. The water carries a faint metallic tang, a reminder of your meager home. You dress carefully, your gray gown clean despite its patches, and tie your bonnet, its strings a symbol of the rules you've bent. Tom grins, his soot-streaked face bright. "You'll show 'em, Eliza," he says, handing you a crust of bread. You chew its rough edge, tasting survival, and hug him, his warmth, a steady anchor. You step into the street, the cobblestones damp from last night's rain. The air hums with coal smoke and the distant clink of market stalls, opening a new day in London's relentless churn. You walk to Holborn, to Mrs. Reed's dressmaker's shop, your basket light without the weight of fear. Passers-by, a vendor, a maid move with purpose, their lives bound by the same rules, modesty, obedience, silence. Yet you feel different, your steps surer. You've faced the rules and won not by breaking them entirely, but by carving a space within them. At the shop, the air is warm, rich with the scent of fresh cotton and beeswax. Mrs. Reed greets you with a nod, her eyes appraising but kind. "Start with this muslin dress," she says, pointing to a table. You settle in the needle familiar in your hand, its rhythm a quiet song. The other seamstresses, strangers, yet work silently, but you feel a spark of possibility. This place is new, less rigid than Mrs. Langley's, and you stitch with care, each loop a promise to prove yourself. You taste the dust in the air, softer here, and let your shoulders relax. Mid-morning, Clara bursts in her laundress's apron, damp her grin wide. "Heard you're Holborn's finest now," she teases, voice low to avoid Mrs. Reed's notice. You smile, threading your needle, and whisper about Margaret's recovery. "She's eating soup," Clara says, eyes gleaming. "Because of you." Her words warm you, like the memory of broth, and you feel the weight of your choices, defying Mrs. Langley, begging the vicar, risking everything. The rules said you were powerless, but Margaret's life proves otherwise. A customer enters, a merchant's daughter in a velvet cloak, her voice sharp as she orders a gown. You keep stitching, invisible to her, but you no longer resent her ease. Her life, too, is caged by marriage prospects, perfect manners. The rules bind everyone, but you've learned to navigate them, to find strength in quiet rebellion. You feel the muslin's smooth texture, a contrast to your rough hands, and think of Tom dreaming of a trade, and Clara whispering of strikes. You're all pushing back in your own ways. The day passes, your fingers steady despite the ache. Mrs. Reed inspects your work, nodding. "Good start, Eliza," she says, a rare praise that lifts you. You pause for tea, its bitterness softened by a pinch of sugar. A small luxury. The shop hums scissors, snip fabric rustles, and you feel part of it, not trapped. Outside, the city pulses, its fog thinner today, revealing glimpses of sky. You hear a street singer's faint tune, and it stirs a realization. This era, with its cruel rules, has forged your resilience, your heart. Evening comes and you walk home, the air sharp with frost. You stop by Margaret's tenement, finding her sitting up, her cough quieter. She grips your hand, her gratitude a silent bond. "You're my family," she says, and you feel the truth of it. Family isn't just blood, but those who fight for you, like Clara Tom, even Mr. Grayson. The rules tried to isolate you, but you've built a web of care. You taste the faint warmth of shared tea, its comfort lingering, and leave with a lighter heart. At home, Tom waits, his eyes bright with a story of a steam engine he saw. You share a supper of bread and cheese, a rare treat from your first wages promise. The candle flickers, its tallow scent soft, and you talk of tomorrow, your work, his hopes. The rules still bind, but they're less heavy now. You've grown, not by escaping Victorian England, but by mastering its maze. You lie down, the mattress creaking, and feel the blanket's scratchy warmth, a cocoon for your new strength. Take a deep breath, let the room's quiet wrap you, and know you're Eliza transformed. The rules of 1850 demanding silence, obedience, conformity tested you, but you've emerged stronger, a woman who saves lives, finds work, and holds hope. The city hums beyond its challenges waiting, but you're ready. Close your eyes, let the day's weight lift and rest in the truth that you've reshaped your place in this unforgiving world, stitch by defiant stitch. You wake to the faint clatter of a cart outside, the sound weaving into the stillness of your St. Giles room. The air is cool, carrying the familiar scent of damp straw and the city's ever-present coal smoke. Your body rests easier on the thin mattress, a quiet strength settling in your bones. As Eliza Carter, you've defied the crushing rules of Victorian London, 1850, losing a job, but gaining a new one, saving Margaret and finding your voice. Take a deep breath, let the morning's chill ground you, and step into the aftermath, where your choices ripple through your life. You rise, splashing cold water from the basin onto your face, its sharp bite a reminder of your reality. The water tastes faintly of rust, but you're used to it. You dress in your patched gray gown, its neat stitches, a mark of your skill, and tie your bonnet, its strings less constricting now. Tom is already up, polishing his boots, his face less shadowed. "You're different, Eliza," he says, grinning. "Braver." You touch his shoulder, his warmth steadying, and share a crust of bread, its rough texture a small victory. The consequences of your actions unfold like fabric from a bolt. Losing Mrs. Langley's job was a blow. Gossip still trails you, whispers of troublemaker in the market. Yet Mrs. Reed's shop offers a fresh start, with fairer wages and a kinder air. You walk to Holborn, the cobblestones slick under your boots, the air sharp with frost and baking bread. The city hums, vendors shout, children dart past, but you feel its pulse differently now. The rules still bind, demanding modesty and silence, but you've learned to bend them, carving a space for yourself. At the shop, you settle at your table, the muslin dress under your needle soft and familiar. The scent of beeswax and linen fills the air, and Mrs. Reed's quiet approval lifts you. The other seamstresses nod in greeting, their reserve thawing. You're no longer just the new girl. Your skill, your story earns respect. But the rules linger, a careless word could spark judgment, and you stitch carefully, each loop a balance of defiance and caution. You taste the morning's tea, its bitterness softened by hope, and let your shoulders relax. Margaret's recovery is another ripple, a bright one. You visit her after work, her tenement less grim now. She's stronger, sitting by a small fire, her cough quieter. "I owe you my life," she says, her hand warm in yours. You shake your head, but her gratitude binds you closer, a family forged in struggle. Clara joins you, her laugh bright, and shares news of the dock strikes workers gaining small wins. "Change is coming," she says, eyes gleaming. You feel the fire's faint heat, a contrast to the damp, and wonder if you too are part of that change. The rules' impact on your life is clearer now. They made misery for most women, silenced workers, crushed dreams, stifled. You think of Mrs. Langley's cold dismissal, the vicar's grudging charity, the constant fear of gossip. Yet you've seen their cracks, Clara's boldness, Mr. Grayson's kindness, your own courage. You compare this to today, 2025, where freedom to speak, to dream is greater, but judgment lingers, social media's glare, class divides. The lesson is, timeless rules shape us, but we shape them back through quiet, stubborn will. You reflect on your growth, sitting with Tom at home, a candle flickering, its tallow scent soft. "I want to be like you," he says, his voice earnest, not scared of the rules. You smile, feeling the table's worn wood under your hand, and share a philosophy born of this era. Survival is defiance, but love for friends, family, yourself, is strength. You've learned to act, not just endure, and that's a legacy for Tom, for Margaret, for Clara. The rules tried to break you, but they've made you unbreakable. You lie down, the mattress creaking, the city's hum, a distant lullaby. The consequences of your choices, a new job, a saved life, a bolder heart, have reshaped your world. You feel the blanket's scratchy warmth, a cocoon for your thoughts, and let your body soften. Take a deep breath, let the day's weight lift, and know you're Eliza, a woman who faced Victorian England's rules and emerged stronger, stitching a life of purpose in a world that demanded silence. You stir as the faint chime of a church bell cuts through the morning fog, its echo soft in your cramped St. Giles room. The air is heavy with the scent of damp plaster and the lingering smokiness of last night's candle. Your body rests easier now, the weight of recent days defying Victorian rules, losing and gaining a job, saving Margaret, settling into a quiet strength. As Eliza Carter in London 1850, you've woven a new thread in your life's fabric. Take a deep breath. Let the chill anchor you, and step into this moment of reflection, where the ripples of your choices reveal their deeper truths. You rise, splashing icy water from the basin onto your face, its sharp sting a familiar wake-up. The water carries a faint metallic taste, grounding you in this simple life. You slip into your gray dress, its patches a badge of resilience, and tie your bonnet, its strings no longer a chokehold. Tom is up, his soot-streaked face bright as he hands you a piece of bread, its crust rough but precious. "You're stronger than anyone, Eliza," he says, and you hug him, his warmth a reminder of why you fight. The rules may bind, but love loosens their grip. You walk to Mrs. Reed's shop in Holborn, the cobblestone slick under your boots, the air sharp with coal smoke, and the distant aroma of roasting chestnuts. The city hums, vendors call, carriages rattle, but you move with purpose, head still down out of habit, though your heart feels taller. The consequences of your defiance are clear. Mrs. Langley's dismissal cost you stability, and whispers of your boldness linger in St. Giles. Yet Mrs. Reed's trust, Margaret's recovery, and Clara's loyalty are victories the rules couldn't steal. You feel the rhythm of your steps, steady and sure, and let your shoulders relax. At the shop, the air is warm, scented with linen and wax. You settle at your table, the muslin dress under your needle, a canvas for your skill. Mrs. Reed nods as she passes her approval, a small but steady light. The other seamstresses chat softly, their voices less guarded now, and you feel a sense of belonging. The rules still hover. Speak softly, work flawlessly. But you've learned to navigate them, stitching your defiance into every careful seam. You taste the morning's tea, its bitterness softened by a rare sugar pinch, and reflect on the cost and gain of your choices. Your actions have reshaped your life's edges. Margaret's survival is a beacon, her gratitude, her slow return to work, proof that one person's fight can shift a tide. Clara's fire, Tom's hope, even Mr. Grayson's quiet support form a web that holds you. But the rule's shadow remains. Poverty is a breath away, and a single misstep, gossip, a bad day could unravel everything. You think of the workhouse, its grim specter, and feel the needle's weight grounding you. The rules made misery for most, but you found a way to endure, to thrive. You compare this world to 2025, where freedom is louder. Women speak, work, dream with fewer chains. Yet modern life has its own rules: social media's judgment, economic gaps, the pressure to perform. Victorian England taught you that rules then and now test resilience, but they also reveal it. You've learned to act within constraints, to save a life, to start anew. This era's cruelty, its demand for silence, its worship of class, forged your courage a lesson that echoes across time. You feel the muslin's softness, a contrast to your calloused hands, and know your strength is timeless. Sitting with Clara after work, her tenement warm with a small fire, you share a cup of weak tea, its warmth spreading. She talks of the dock strikes of workers demanding more, and you see her as a spark like you. "We're not so different from them," she says, grinning. You nod, feeling the fire's faint heat, and share a philosophy: the rules may shape the world, but small acts, kindness, defiance, love, reshape it back. You've grown, not by escaping the rules, but by mastering their maze. And that's a legacy for Tom, for Margaret, for yourself, for... You return home, the candle's tallow scent, soft as you sit with Tom. He dreams of a trade, a life beyond chimneys, and you encourage him, your voice steady. The rules tried to define you as a seamstress, a sister, a woman. But you've defined yourself someone who fights, who loves, who endures. You lie down the mattress, creaking the city's hum, a distant pulse. Take a deep breath. Let your body soften and feel the truth. Your Eliza, shaped by 1850s trials, stronger for it, carrying lessons of resilience that light the way forward. You lie in your St. Giles room, the faint glow of dawn seeping through the window, softening the shadows of your world. The air is cool, laced with the familiar scent of straw and the city's ever-present coal smoke. Your journey as Eliza Carter in London 1850 has been a tapestry of struggle and triumph, defying Victorian rules, saving Margaret, losing and finding work, and discovering your strength. As you rest on the creaking mattress, take a deep breath, let your body sink into the blanket's scratchy warmth, and let this story wrap you in its final gentle embrace. Picture yourself rising one last time, the floorboards cold under your feet. You splash water from the basin, its icy touch, a quiet farewell to this life. You've walked the slick cobblestones, breathed the coal-choked air, and stitched seams under the weight of rules that demanded silence, modesty, and obedience. You faced Mrs. Langley's wrath, begged for Margaret's life, and found a new path with Mrs. Reed. Each choice risking your job, defying propriety, wove a story of resilience, not just survival. You taste the memory of weak tea, its bitterness softened by Tom's grin, Clara's fire, Margaret's gratitude. This journey through Victorian England reveals a truth: social rules made life miserable for most, chaining women workers and dreamers to rigid roles. You felt their weight, gossip that could ruin poverty, that loomed, expectations that crushed. Yet you, Eliza, found cracks in that system. You saved a friend, earned respect, and grew bolder, proving that even in a world of constraints, small acts of courage ripple outward. The scent of beeswax in the shop, the feel of muslin under your needle, the sound of Tom's hopeful voice, these grounded you, reminders of a life you shaped. Now let's connect this to today, 2025. Our world has its own rules, less overt but real. Social media judges, workplaces demand, and class divides persist. Like you, we navigate expectations, balancing conformity with defiance. Your story teaches us that resilience is universal. Whether stitching dresses in 1850 or facing modern pressures, we endure by acting loving and holding fast to who we are. You showed that rules can bend, that a seamstress can be a hero, and that strength grows in the quiet moments of choice. Feel the weight of this era lift like fog burning off under the sun. You've learned from Victorian cruelty, its classism, its silencing of women, a lesson of defiance. No rule is absolute when you choose to act. You carry this now, a philosophy for any time. Fight for others, hold your ground, and find joy in small victories. Picture Tom's bright eyes, Clara's laugh, Margaret's hand in yours. These bonds, not the rules, defined you. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders soften, and let this truth settle. You are stronger than any cage. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the city's hum fading, its clatter of hooves and shouts giving way to silence. You're no longer just Eliza, but a bridge between then and now, carrying a message about history and humanity. We are shaped by our struggles, but we shape our stories. Thank you for walking this path, for feeling the cold stones, the needle's prick, the warmth of connection. Your journey reminds us to question rules, to act with heart, and to endure with hope. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe. I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop your location and time in the comments. For now, let your eyes grow heavy, your breath slow. The world of 1850 fades, but its lessons linger soft as a candle's glow. Rest now, wrapped in the truth that you, like Eliza, can face any rule and emerge whole. Good night.